The court accepts this girl, Miss Gina Lestrade, as a valid and a significant witness in this case. Um nicht zu sagen, als die Mörderin. Accordingly, young lady, we will now hear your testimony if you please. Ich meine, er hat auf ihr draufgesessen, also nicht auf ihr, sondern auf dem Sitz, unter dem sie war, hat er draufgesessen. Von daher, ja, sie hat schon ein Alibi, würde ich sagen, quasi. Aber keine Ahnung. Alright. If I have to. Na dann, bin ich mal gespannt, was sie denn da drin mitbekommen hat. Sie hat nichts gesehen, ganz offensichtlich. So stuck inside the carriage before they hooked up the horses, just like always. But it was a right old waste of time. I got nothing to show for me troubles that night. I'll tell ya, you can see a blind thing at that hiding place. It's pitch in there. Then, after a while, I heard this loud bang. Nearly jumped out me skin, I did. And the scream just came out. Bang? Was für ein Bang hast du denn bitte gehört? Achso, vielleicht wie er auf dem Boden gelandet ist. Ja, gut, okay. Ich dachte gerade erst eine Schusswaffe, aber wie gesagt, hätte wenig Sinn ergeben, ne? Es gab keinen Schuss. Soweit ich weiß. It's because of that Swell found me. It did help me get away, mind. Ja, ist ein netter Typ, ne? Ist ein sehr netter Typ eigentlich. Yes, he let you go. I fail to understand why you would let the street urchin go, Mr. McGilded. Oh, 'tis simplicity itself, my lord. You see, she couldn't possibly have killed the other passenger. I knew that for a fact. Aha. Er hat auf ihr draufgesessen. Ja, ich werde das jetzt weiterhin so ausdrücken. So I'm sure I said before, sir. I was sitting right on top of a place where she was hiding herself. I think a demonstration is called for. Ja, ich verstehe absolut nicht, was damit gemeint ist. This is where I was sat that night. And the cubbyhole of which you have spoken is underneath this seat, I presume. Richtig. Das verstehen wir alle, wir sind ja nicht blöd. Ah. So you see, that's why I let the last bolt. I knew that if the police found her there, they'd automatically assume she'd done it. But I couldn't live with myself if a young life was ruined when all the time I knew she was innocent. Even though you must have realized your actions would result in your own innocence being called in question. Not at all, my lord, not at all. Hmm? I knew in my own heart that I was innocent. So I thought it was worth taking a punt on my own good name for the sake of this last fortunate lass. My goodness. What a perfect gentleman. Ich vertraue ihm immer weniger, je netter er tut. My lord. This is an example of a man cannot possibly be guilty of a heinous crime like this. Ich dachte, du bist der Mörder. Oh fuck. Vielleicht ist er doch nicht der Mörder. I'm ashamed of myself for ever doubting you, sir. Gut so. So, guck mal, haben fast gewonnen, glaube ich. Wenn das so weitergeht, was sagst du dazu? With calm, calculated reasoning, one arrives clearly at the truth every time. Guck mal. Ist das jetzt auch beendet hier? Haben wir jetzt gewonnen? Weil müssten wir doch, oder? Wäre das sonst unfair. Saints alive! All 6 members of the jury consensual in their leaning to a verdict of not guilty. Ja. Unglaublich, ne? Mr. Hold of this. What that must mean? It must mean... What? That we're victorious, glaube ich nicht. Ist noch nicht vorbei. Nein, wir wissen noch gar nichts. We've won. Are you sure? Objection. Danke. Wow, was zur Hölle machst du da? Sort of an irony of the Wellington offense. Pray, do forgive the discourtesy. Was machst du da mit deinem Fuß? This really is a consummate example of the one monumental flaw in British judicial practices. Where evidence and reasoning should be paramount, emotion rules the day. Oh ja, das ist mir bei der Jury halt auch schon aufgefallen, direkt von Anfang an. Aber da hat es dich noch nicht gestört, ne? Als sie ganz am Anfang alle gesagt haben, ja, der ist schuldig. Ist mir unsympathisch irgendwie. Das hat dich noch nicht gestört, nur jetzt ist es plötzlich ein Problem. The witness's latest statement gives us a clear insight into his true nature. What do you mean, his true nature? Do Do you really think Scotland Yard would have made such a glaring omission? After the incident, the omnibus was comprehensively searched by officers of the police. Obviously, the interior of this cubbyhole, as the witness puts it, was included in the investigation. The compartment under the posterior seat was full of the coachman's belongings. Wow. It's noted in black and white here in the police report. Ich meine, ich habe mir ja schon die ganze Zeit gedacht, dass er irgendwie lügt. Aus irgendeinem Grund, was das alles angeht. Aber so sehr? Sie war nicht mal da drin? The evidence has been tampered with. In order to corroborate Mr. McGildett's story, someone has unlawfully removed everything from under the seat. What? Ha. Wirklich? Order! How could such a devious contrivance possibly have been effected, counsel? Naturally, we must acknowledge the defiances of the constabulary in allowing this to have happened. Was soll das denn das alles für Wörter, die du verwendest? Red mal normal, bitte, mein Herr. However, I assure you, when the omnibus was wheeled into the courtroom this morning, the compartment under the seat was not empty. Well, my Japanese friend? Me. When the carriage was submitted as evidence, doubtless you examined it in fine detail as would any self-respecting practitioner of the law. Pray, what did you find the condition of the underseat compartment to be? Valer. Oh, to be sure, the young gentleman will be able to clear this up in a jiffy. Sorry? Go ahead. You tell the court now, fella. Oh, this is all an elaborate excuse for the desperate Lord Van Zeeks. Was? Weiß ich nicht, also bestimmt, aber wie? Well, counsel, do you have something to say on this matter? How am I supposed to answer? What can I say about the set of that little compartment under the seat in the omnibus? I didn't look. Es war leer. Ist richtig, das weiß ich. Hab schon nachgeguckt. Yes, I'm fairly sure it was empty. If I'm honest, my memory about all this is a little hazy. Nein, es war leer! As I suspected, it seems by law that this Eastern initiate has the scruples of a by-street wine merchant. Mr. Narodo. Warum? Was ist denn? Ich sag doch, er ist böse. Perfect. This is why the fella is representing me after all. He knows just what to say, does he not? Es ist wahr! Es ist leer! Gehen wir doch mal rein. Er hat ja auch gesagt, dass ihm irgendwas hier komisch vorkommt, ne? Öffne das hier. Das ist leer! Aber hier sagt er irgendwas von wegen... It's totally empty. Something doesn't seem right here, but I can't put my finger on what it is. Ich weiß nicht, wovon er redet. Ich weiß wirklich, wovon er redet. So weird. Well now, it would seem the argument is moot. And the truth of the matter is therefore use all to see after all. That there cubbyhole under the seat is as empty as the devil's heart, so it is. That we can be sure of at least. Why? Why do I feel like something's not right here? I should like the jury to weigh in on this matter, I think. That compartment is designed to house equipment used to maintain the smooth running of the carriage. The guild's rules say that omnibuses should be properly and fully equipped at all times. So it certainly wouldn't have been empty on the night in question. Beppo isn't that irresponsible. Sagst du, nachdem er auch bereits, naja, den Leuten ihr Geld abgezogen hat, aus den Taschen raus direkt, ja? That money-lending fleecer and the pig purse are lying. Ich glaub's ja langsam auch. Das ist ein Trick, ja. Natürlich ist es ein Trick. Was denn noch sonst? Wow. Könnt ihr bitte aufhören, alle gleichzeitig dagegen zu sein? Danke. Gut, sie hören auf zumindest. Ich dachte, jetzt würden schon alle wieder gegen ihn stürmen sofort. My lord, I humbly accept the scales of justice. Clearly a verdict of not guilty at this time would be wholly inappropriate. Thank you, counsel. But before we proceed any further, there is a matter of the outstanding cross-examination. Counsel for the defense, begin your questioning of the witness, please. Yes, my lord, what just happened? The whole balance of the trial just shifted. Now it's beyond recognition. The Reaper of the Bailey is at work, it would seem. Böse. Er ist böse. So, aber das ist dasselbe wie gerade vorher? Da haben wir doch gar nichts gegen gesagt, ne? Ist doch schon lange her, dass sie das gesagt hat, ursprünglich, dass sie diese Aussage getroffen hat. Pitch black in there. Just like always. Was heißt like always, huh? So, you were already in the omnibus before it even set off on its run. Well, yeah, I mean, what's the point of spending a Joey to make a few bob, eh? That's a rum idea, ain't it? Suppose she means there's no point spending money to make money. It actually makes sense. Counsel, may I remind you that this girl is a petty thief? Kindly refrain from entertaining her tenants. Well, that does clear up the little mystery of the fares and all. For paying passengers at 5 pence apiece, being the 20 to which the man testified. Was? Ja? Achso, and one little scapegrace riding for free. Ja, das weiß ich. The right conch of a driver always goes for some grub before us. Let's run, see? So that's when I slip in the carriage and get myself in another seat. Nice and easy, right? But your hiding place is a storage compartment full of equipment for the coach, no? Ja, hast du was dagegen zu sagen vielleicht? Yeah, there's brushes and buckets and whatnot in there, sure. Oh, check all that out and cram it in the corner somewhere. Wohin? No one ever seems to bother much. And yet, according to the report filed by the police officer who first arrived at the scene, the compartment was full of such paraphernalia. Er verwendet wirklich große Wörter, der Typ. Well, I know nothing about that. Like I said, I moved all that stuff out so I could hide under the seat. That's all I can tell ya. Seems we've reached the end of that line of inquiry. Yeah. Hast kein Geld verdient, ha? Natürlich nicht. Warst ja auch eingesperrt quasi. Ja, wir gehen einfach alles durch. Es hat eh keinen Sinn, sich Gedanken darüber zu machen, was Sinn ergibt, weil man muss eh alles gehört haben, teilweise. Waste of time, why is that? Weil sie nichts verdient hat. Well, most nights I'm on me own in the God permit at least some of the time. I beg your pardon, did you say God permit? Oh, yeah, well, that's what we can call it. You'd say the omnibus, I suppose. The point is, any normal run, the carriage ain't got no one in it for a while. Ah, und dann kommst du erstmal raus. Ja, klar. That's it. Only that night. This cove sat on me seat from the start. And he didn't budge the whole way, did he? No 1 inch. I was totally stuck. Do you mean to tell us that you were present in the carriage for the duration? You were under the seat the entire time while events unfolded in the enclosed cabin? Yeah. Right, mister? To be sure. I was as shocked as anyone. You don't expect to lift the cushion you've been set on and find a child now, do you? So this Mrs. Strutt couldn't possibly be the culprit then. Ja, wahrscheinlich nicht. Sehr, sehr wahrscheinlich nicht. Aber gehe ich auch mal von aus, dass sie es nicht ist. Na gut, machen wir weiter. Das hilft uns alles noch nicht weiter gerade. Und der George, Miss Stacy pushed the cushion with me and look out a crack. Then I can't even butchers at who I'm gonna fiddle. I thought you were a pickpocket, not a butcher. I mean, I can have a look. The seat I get under ain't as plush as the other one, see? So most of the time the passengers plan themselves opposite. Die meisten Leute bevorzugen die anderen Sitze. Nur unser Werter, McGilded, ist der Meinung, dass diese Sitze die besseren sind aus irgendeinem Grund. Dass er lieber da sitzt. Aber warum? For some reason that night, this Irishman spent the whole journey right over me head. for that reason you weren't able to push the cushion up to peek out, I see. Warum hast du da gesessen? Ain't you happy in smaller places? Feels so much like being thrown in the clink. But it's the only place to hide in them carriages, so it's Hobson's choice. Why doesn't she just stick to pick people's pockets in the open then? I'd say there's some reason that she's not letting on, judging from her demeanor. So anyways, I was a bit scared, but I had to just stick it out under there. Nothing else for it. Also ja, das ist schon mal ein interessantes Detail. Ich meine, wir haben schon mitbekommen, dass die Sitze relativ hart sind und nicht so gemütlich und so. Aber ja, dass es auch deswegen wirklich unbeliebte Plätze quasi sind. Was sich eigentlich daraus fast erschließen lässt, aber trotzdem nochmal ein interessanter Gedanke auf jeden Fall, den wir da verfolgen können. When you say loud bang, do you mean the noise of someone falling to the floor? Could have been, I suppose. I don't remember so well. Point is, it made me jump. You heard her scream involuntarily. That's right, and then I felt the cushion over me. It get lighter all of a sudden. Presumably when the defendant got up in order to help the victim, yes. Or not. It could equally have been at the moment the accused stood in order to stab the victim, could it not? Nein! Weil es ja danach passiert ist, nachdem sie den Thud gehört hat. Well, girl, did you see what happened at that crucial moment? Yeah, I saw it. I pushed up the cushion and had a quick butchers while I had the chance, didn't I? The Irishman was sitting up the bloke what had fallen on the floor on the seat opposite. That matches Mr. McGilda's account, of course. But then, the fella suddenly turns around and looked right at me. I sank back down again, but it was too late by then. I should never have risked looking. So das aber wirklich nicht. Ah, fuck. Das wollte ich nicht. Na egal. All 6 members of the jury has decided the defendant was innocent. For one brief shining moment, yes. It's clear that they are still very unsure. If we could just find some conclusive piece of evidence, da bin ich bei. Something's bothering me, but I just can't quite put my finger on it. Okay, nichts Interessantes sonst gesagt. Gut. Ja, dann bitte das letzte nochmal, wie ich es eigentlich gerade vorhatte. Tut mir leid. So, pressen wir nochmal drauf. Einmal drücken. And when Mr. McGilda discovered you, he pulled you out from your hiding place. I was scared stiff, I was. He dragged me out and set me down on the seat and all. Next to the victim, Mr. Mason. Yeah, the bloke had a knife in its guts. He was still bleeding. They carried you lurched a bit, and he ended up falling onto me. Ugh, how awful. Both my hands get covered in blood. It made me feel sick as a dog. Ist es also wirklich das gewesen? Both her hands covered in blood. Ah. After that, I believe you talked with Mr. McGilda for a while. Is that correct? He asked me some stuff. Wanted to know my name and what I was up to and that. When I heard something from above, someone screamed. Yes, Mr. First on the roof deck, one would presume. Well, I didn't want no one to see my face, so I didn't look up. Then the others were drawn up smartish, and this Irishman says to me, "Get back under the seat. I'll see that you can get away later." Gut, das war alles. Das war alles wohl. So, was haben wir an Beweisen, die wir verwenden könnten dafür oder dagegen? Wir können uns auch mal die Sachen vielleicht ein bisschen mehr angucken, ne? Aber ist hier noch was auf der... Ach, das kann ich mir nicht auf der Rückseite angucken. Natürlich nicht. Warte mal. Da fehlt, glaube ich, ein Knopf. Irgendwo da. Ist das relevant? Ich weiß es nicht, ich glaube nicht. Aber vielleicht doch. Vielleicht doch. Da ist ein Blutfleck. This is definitely blood, isn't it? Not the most pleasant sight to be confronted with on our first day in London. Well, nothing will come of grumbling now. No, by the way, is Mr. McGilda right-handed? Yes, I believe so. I was talking of recording this right-handed earlier. Ah, pity. If only he'd been left-handed. I think blood on either glove would be fairly incriminating, really. So, aber mehr ist ja auch nicht Spannendes bei. Ist noch was in den Handschuhen drin? Ist da was versteckt? Nein, okay. Sieht mit dem Messer aus? Da sind Pferde drauf, was ich auch sehr interessant finde. Also vielleicht gehört das dem Pferdemann. Das Messer. Vielleicht ist es ein deutlicher Beweis dafür. Das M kann ich mir aber angucken. Noch eine Letter M. Undeniably Mr. Magnus McGilded's initial. Ja, aber auch von anderen Leuten, ne, die mit M anfangen. It's beautifully gilded too. Mr. McGilded. Ja, it's beautifully gilded. Okay, natürlich gehört es ihm. It must be very valuable, I should think. Ah, was? What is it? Look at this M. If you turn it upside down, it becomes a W. This could change everything. Ich meine, könnte es wirklich? A W? Yes, this is one of those, you know, turnabout cases. I'm sure of it. Es könnte W wie Wambo heißen. Fred, I don't know it all, but what I'm sure of it is, this is an M. Ach, okay, nicht. So, irgendwas? Hier unten noch? Nö, die Spitze? Ja, die Spitze kann ich mir angucken, okay. That part is a sheath, isn't it? Are you alright, Mr. Narodo? Oh, sorry, yes, I just don't really like blades. Oh, doesn't seem like the words of a man with a large katana slung from his waist. That's not a blade, that's because I'm so... Oh, anyway, there's no sense in delaying it. Oh ja, sehe ich halt, dass da jetzt Blut dran ist, ne? Ist aber nicht, gar nicht mal so tief reingestochen worden. Ist krass. Ah, that looks a lot like blood. It surely is blood, the victims. Oh, an Englishman's blood looks a lot like a Japanese man's blood. Ja, Überraschung. Do you think it wouldn't? Sorry, it's just that we've only just arrived here in Great Britain. I'm finding it a little hard to adjust. Yes, I do understand. Es hilft mir trotzdem nicht so wirklich weiter bisher. Um nicht zu sagen, es hilft mir überhaupt nicht weiter. Ja, ich kann es auch nicht wieder draufpacken. Und das war's mit dem Messer. War die Reaktion da gerade auch schon? Hi! Da ist ein sehr, sehr offensichtliches Ausrufezeichen. Ja, ich war gerade dabei, einfach nochmal alles durchzugehen, weil ich echt keine Ahnung hatte, was ich tun soll. Und dachte, vielleicht finde ich noch irgendeinen krassen Hinweis. Aber, wow! Jetzt muss man sich also nicht nur jedes Teil einmal durchlesen. Nein, vielleicht muss man sich auch alle zweimal durchlesen, weil beim zweiten Mal plötzlich eine Reaktion auftaucht. Die war beim ersten Mal ganz sicher noch nicht da. Die hätte ich doch nicht übersehen, oder? Oder? Habe ich sie übersehen? Vielleicht habe ich sie übersehen, ich weiß es nicht. Tut mir leid, wenn es so ist. Jetzt habe ich nichts gesagt. Is something wrong, Mr. McGilded? Oh, I do apologize. Was there something the matter, Counsel? I'm just wondering if Mr. Lestrade's last comment made something occur to you, perhaps. You seem to be thinking something to yourself. Oh, no. It was not important. I was feeling bad for the poor lass is all. I remember feeling desperate myself as a young lad, shut up in the dark. It was terrifying, so it was. I see, yes, I'm sure we can all sympathize. I'm still scared of the dark now. Oh, okay. And I don't know about yourself, but I find that the darkness seems to make everything you hear seem that much louder as well. Aha. Wo willst du hinaus? Yeah. I suppose it does. Maybe. Miss Lestrade. Did you hear something that night? Anything unusual noise, perhaps? Ja, das Thema hatten wir doch. Dass er einen Bang gehört hat. Der war vielleicht also gar nicht so laut, wie sie es sich eingebildet hat. Willst du damit sagen? Aber ich weiß nicht, wer das hilfreich ist. Eine Person ist ja auf dem Boden gelandet. All I could hear was the Irishman snoring. But jabbers, there's no need to tell the whole world of me foibles, you little scamp. What a pity. If only Miss Lestrade had heard something, it might have given us a vital new clue. Wie wisst ihr, dass was gehört hat? Ja, ist wohl natürlich profoundly important, weil ich habe sonst keine Ahnung, wie ich weitermachen soll. Ich meine, gibt es jemals eine Situation, in der man sagen muss, nö, ist nicht wichtig? Weiß nicht, vielleicht schon. Aber, kommt mir komisch vor. Profoundly important, but all she said was that she heard nothing. Yes, which is a profoundly important point. I'm always sure of it. I'm almost sure that I don't understand the inner workings of the Eastern Mind Council. Nevertheless, Miss Gina Lestrade, You will supplement your formal testimony by repeating the last statement. Okay, interessant. What? Supermint? What are you on about? Don't give me all your fancy talk. I know what you're trying to do. But it won't work on me. That's right. Insult the judge. Always a good move. Recht hat sie, aber ihr verwendet ganz schön viele komische fancy Wörter, die ich nicht kenne. Vor allem wenn sie's. So. But all I could hear was snoring. Also hat er auf jeden Fall geschlafen. Ja, das ist doch so ein Hinweis. Möchte ich behaupten sogar. Präsent. Er hat geschlafen. So. Das ist mein Hinweis. Wir hören uns einfach nochmal, was sie dazu sagen kann. Am besten im ersten. Ja, als erstes. So. So you were straining to hear what was happening the entire time since the moment you hit yourself. Not exactly, no. Sorry? Well, there was no one in the cabin to start with. I could just push the cushion up and never budge to see what was what. But then, when I saw the swell getting on, I got my head down so it didn't notice me. Mr. McGill had sat on the seat under which you were hiding, correct? Yeah, could you Adam and Eve it, eh? What a muck. So then, all I could do was listen. I was waiting to jump out there as soon as I heard him leave, see? Oh, would he? Not likely. Even though we stopped here and there, I never heard the door open. So just had to stay put and listen to him driving his pigs to market, snoring like an old dog he was. Ja, hast du da sowas zu sagen? Are there any conclusions we can draw from that, I wonder? Ja. It makes sense. Er hat geschlafen. Nee, das nicht ab. Es müsste ja jemand eingestiegen sein, jemand anderes. Das ergibt gar keinen Sinn. Da habe ich gar nicht drüber nachgedacht. Dass ja dann niemand da drin wäre, außer er. Mrs. Strut, what you have just told the court is clearly at odds with the facts. Ah. At odds? Are you sure, man? Jetzt bin ich nur noch man. Wow. It seems well-learned Nipponese friend is not as dull-witted as I feared. So then Zeeks realized it too. Ja. Ist auch kein Vollidiot. Nur ein gemeiner Typ. I must insist that you bolster your claim of evidence, or some complicit party's name at the very least. Yes, my lord. I expect you to demonstrate this alleged contradiction to the court. According to Mrs. Strut, while she was hiding in the omnibus that night, she had nothing but the sound of Mr. McGill snoring, but think, Renus, think. Ist jemand eingestiegen? Die Türen haben sich nicht geöffnet. Show a person. Zwar müsste sie diesen werten Herrn gehört haben. Mindestens. Thrice fired Mason? Yes, my lord. The sound that Mrs. Strut cannot have failed to hear is that of the victim, Mr. Mason, boarding the omnibus. Order! Order! Explain your reasoning, counsel. Mrs. Strut, allow me to confirm something. You claimed earlier that you were the first person on board the omnibus. Is that correct? Yeah, of course I was. I got on while the driver was in the pub, didn't I? And the next person aboard the omnibus was Mr. McGildet? That it was, not his cell wasn't the cab when I climbed aboard. At least not in plain sight. So you were, to all intents and purposes, alone in the enclosed cabin of the omnibus at the time. Did I not just say as much? I wasn't traveling with anyone else, if that's what you mean. Yeah, I saw him getting on, remember? Through the crack under the seat cushion. He was on its own for sure. And from what we've heard, the carriage made a number of stops after that on its onward journey. During which time did you not hear the door opening or closing at all? Nah, I never heard it. Exactly what I was listening for, weren't I? Waiting for the swell to leave. Wie ist dann der gute Mason an Bord gekommen, ha? Ist einfach reingeflogen. Durch die Wand. Tja, kann ja wohl nicht wahr sein. When and how did the victim end up in the carriage? Ah! We know that the victim collapsed inside the enclosed cabin of the omnibus. Therefore, Mrs. Strut's statement about what she did or did not hear is at odds with the facts. Ah! Ja, da haben wir wohl einen Punkt, ne? Yes, this pretty thief's statement is clearly flawed. Lord Van Zeeks. Yes. He knew all too well that there was an inconsistency in Mrs. Strahd's statement. Oh, it seemed words of thanks in order for my learned friend. What are you talking about? Habe ich dir gerade geholfen? Ich wollte dir nicht helfen. You have demonstrated matters impeccably. This witness and her colorful statements. Ach so, ja, du wolltest ja sowieso dafür sorgen, dass, ja, auffliegt, dass es ganz eine Lüge ist und sie nie in der Kutsche war. Dass er sich das alles so ausgedacht hat. Is that right? How could the victim possibly not have boarded? That makes no sense whatsoever. Ja, haust du drauf auf die Flamme? Ich sehe schon. Es wird wieder knapp langsam. Ah, she didn't even say anything. I didn't want to judge the dear little mite just because she has some rather naughty ways. But I must say, I can't abide liars. Vielleicht hat sie ja nicht gelogen, vielleicht gibt es eine andere logische Erklärung dafür. Ich wüsste halt wirklich nicht welche. Ich habe wirklich keine Idee, wie das irgendwie Sinn ergeben kann. To the considerable troubles you have spared me. Pff, hättest du auch einfach selbst sagen können. Du wusstest es doch. Hättest mich nicht rätseln lassen müssen, bis ich die Reaktion finde. Ah, what are you playing at? Have you forgotten who you're working for, you useless Eastern madam? This is carnage. It's perfect. Juror number 2 is the only one left. It's not all of the way this is going. I know. If we can find some new way to convince everyone of Mr. McGilded's innocence, the judge will rule and will have lost. I very much wanted to believe the words 9! But those of us in service know we must accept hard truths. So, stopp, bitte. Ich habe noch einen Beweis. Ich weiß nicht welchen, aber ich habe bestimmt noch einen Beweis. Yes, the witness's last statement seems to have revealed a critical inconsistency in her story. However, if you consider the possibility that her statement is in fact the truth, it may shed an entirely new light on this whole case. What are you saying? I'm sorry, sir. Whatever do you mean? Counsel, I will not tolerate you attempting to provoke my adjudication. Explain yourself at once. When the accused boarded the omnibus on the night in question, the victim was nowhere to be seen. Subsequently, the carriage door was not heard opening a single time, as testified by the witness in the stand. And yet the victim's body was found inside the carriage. If this petty thief's words are to be believed, how do you explain the victim's miraculous appearance inside the cabin of the omnibus? Ja, wie? Bitte. Weiß nämlich nicht. There's only one way to explain how the victim came to be inside the carriage. Warum sagst du das in grün? Das wurde der after he died kann nicht sein. There's another entrance war so meine Idee. Aber ich habe auch keine Idee, wie das funktionieren haben könnte. He was in there already. Kommt mir auch ein bisschen komisch vor, ne? Kann ja nicht sein. Also muss es einen anderen Eingang geben. Aber welchen? Vor allem, welcher, der bitte leiser ist als die Tür? Ich habe halt kurz drüber nachgedacht, ob man vielleicht das Fenster oben öffnen kann und dadurch irgendwie rein. Aber das wäre ja auch laut. Das würde ja auch Geräusche machen. Sogar mehr wahrscheinlich. Also... He was already in there ist die einzige Lösung. Eigentlich... Ich kann noch mal ganz kurz hier reingucken, ne? Gibt es noch einen anderen Eingang vielleicht irgendwo? Ja. Aber das hätte sie ja alles genauso gehört. Deswegen, das ist Blödsinn. Er muss schon hier drin gewesen sein. Hat sich halt getarnt als Sitz. Keine Ahnung, wirklich nicht. Wie wär's mit... Ich habe eine Idee, aber die geht halt davon aus, dass McGilded schuldig ist. McGilded könnte nämlich die Leiche mit sich reingetragen haben, als er eingestiegen ist. Das wäre die einzige Lösung, die ich gerade hätte. Dass er von Anfang an tot war und ihm gegenüber saß und ja, halt dann irgendwann umgekippt ist. For fuck's sake. Es kommt mir halt alles falsch vor. Ich muss das sagen. Also das ist das Einzige, was ich irgendwie logisch erklären kann, aber ich kann es auch nicht logisch erklären. Objection. Aber es kann es nicht sein, ne? Nein. Well said, Lord Van Ziek. So clearly is troubling me also. No. That's really not the point. The point is that the victim must have been in the carriage from beforehand. Then answer me this. Maybe beforehand. To what specific point in time are you referring? Well, clearly... I shall have to penalize the defense heavily for this... Okay, gut. Schade. Ich dachte, ich könnte jetzt sagen, welchen Zeitpunkt ich meine, aber... Ich weiß halt nicht, ne? Weil er hätte einsteigen können, bevor McGilded eingestiegen ist, theoretisch gesehen. Und McGilded hätte ihn übersehen haben können. Aber, na, keine Ahnung. Ja, ergibt auch keinen Sinn. Wo soll er sich denn versteckt haben, ne? Ich meine, ich habe noch genug Leben, alles gut, aber... Das ist nach der Entrance ergibt für mich echt keinen Sinn. The explanation is that the victim entered the enclosed cabin some other way. Ist es echt? Ist es echt, dass er nach dem Tod da erst drin gelandet ist? Only one side of the enclosed cabin is furnished with a door. The other has only windows. Fixed windows which cannot possibly open. In short, there's no entrance to the cabin other than the door. Kannst du das auch in Rot sagen, bitte? Tut mir leid, aber das passt wirklich gut gerade. But there could be. There's one possibility you haven't considered. Oh, really? Yes. One other way inside that isn't the door. Was? Wirklich? Another opening, the use of which allows the victim to appear inside the enclosed cabin. Alright, counsel. The defense will identify the location for the court. Here is the omnibus on which the incident occurred. The entrance by which you propose the victim enter the cabin. What the actual fuck? Also, es muss ja das sein. Ich meine, hier ist ja sonst nichts, was ich anklicken könnte von dieser Perspektive aus, auch vor allem. Ist es wirklich? Wie? The answer is obvious. It can only have been the skylight. Einen Moment. Oh! Oh mein Gott, ja! Let's go! Fair Play! Das nenne ich aber nicht gerade Fair Play. Jetzt passt das Timing auch viel besser von allem hier. Er hat den Mord begangen, hat die Leiche oben nach unten runterfallen lassen. Dann hat das Mädchen geschrien, hat McGilded aufgeweckt. Das alles ist passiert in der Zwischenzeit. Irgendwann da nebenbei ist First oben dann aufgetaucht. Also der saß da zu dem Zeitpunkt natürlich noch nicht, als der Mord geschehen ist. Da. Und dann erst hat Fair Play irgendwann gesagt, oh, guck mal, da unten, da ist eine Leiche. Und dann hat er das auch gesehen und hat geschrien. Ist es das? Weil das ist die einzige Erklärung, die ich gerade habe. Ich weiß, ich bin ein bisschen spät dran dafür. Wahrscheinlich ist es mittlerweile offensichtlich, aber wenn es das ist. You ludicrous proposal almost has me lost for words. However, the skylight may well be large enough for someone to pass through. So you claim. But do you have a shred of evidence to support your addle brain theory? Wir können auch einmal kurz versuchen durchzuspringen. Ich meine, das Teil ist direkt hier. Both Mr. McGilded and Mr. Lestrade said the same in their testimonies. They each claimed to have heard a loud thud, such as the noise made by someone falling to the floor. Yes, which has already been explained, as the sound of the victim falling from his seat, having been assaulted with the dagger. Would a man slipping from the seat onto the floor really have made such a loud noise as the witnesses describe? Nee, tatsächlich nicht. Not loud enough to cause Mr. Lestrade to let out an involuntary cry, in fact. Good gracious! Perhaps, in fact, that was the moment that the victim made his entrance into the cabin. No, let me rephrase that. The victim didn't enter the cabin as such. He fell into it. Objection. You're now suggesting that the victim fell from the skylight into the cabin? That's simply impossible! How can you be so sure? Because the victim had fallen inside through the skylight, as you say. The passengers on the roof deck would have seen it happen. And yet, not one person made mention of such events in their testimony. Well, yes, that's true, but... Yeah, might a humble fella make a wee comment here? Mr. McGildet! To be sure now, the two fellas who were sat on the roof that testified afore said nothing of the victim falling through the skylight. But it seems to me, my lord, that this is not so much a case of them not saying, but... Not seeing... Oh, this is a case of being unable to say? Ja, inwiefern? Oh, I think perhaps the two fellas do be having something of a compelling reason not to mention what happened. Oder sind sie beide die Mörder gemeinsam? Das würde es natürlich auch erklären, ne? Nur, man, ja. Würde halt auch gehen, wenn Lady First später eingestiegen wäre. Erst. Would you not agree, fine ladies and gentlemen of the jury? Oh my goodness, surely not. Those two champs on the roof. You mean the ones who stuck that knife in the man were... Ah! Ja? Ja. Ja, ich hätte die Idee wirklich einfach spät vielleicht, ne? Hey, was ist mit deiner Kleidung passiert? That's what exactly are you insinuating here, you blitherer? You rotter, he said, you rotter! What are you... Was machst du da? Warum bist du ein Pferd? Okay. This is a flaming outrage. I have a good mind to give you a blinker in a minute. He'll give you a shine in a minute, he said, and so will I. Mr. Fair Play. You're effectively accusing me, a city gentleman and well-respected banker. And me, a very angry actor. Ja, das tue ich wohl, das ist richtig. Suggesting that someone like me could have stabbed that man in the guts, it's a disgrace, it's scandalous, I protest. I protest in the strongest possible terms. That's right, I protest too, about you rotten scoundrel. Order! This is not the time, witnesses. I will not permit this wanton invasion of the stand. Return to the anteroom at once. But this is beyond reason, my lord. It's outrageous. It's very hurtful, you know. My lord, if I may comment. Go ahead, Lord Van Zieks. It was the defense that incited this outburst from the witnesses. My learned friend has seen fit to abandon all protocol and accuse the witnesses without proof. Accuse? I never intended to. It seems, young Nipponese, that your command of the English tongue is wanting. You proposed to this court that the victim fell through the skylight from the roof deck of the omnibus. That hypothesis cannot possibly stand without the rooftop passengers being aware of the events. You have branded these gentlemen liars. You have intimidated their criminal guilt. In a British court of laws, that is what is termed a baseless accusation. I know it's rash to put this idea forward without any actual evidence, but you can't just dismiss it without a second thought. What are we wasting time for? Get them to testify. I thought there was something fishy about that hat from the moment I laid eyes on the fellow. Ja, denke ich nämlich auch. There's filth and rubbish in our midst. We must dispose of it at once. Oh, okay, die sind alle dafür. Guck mal, die sind alle dafür. What's happening, Mr. Naruhodo? spectators in the public gallery are... They're in a complete frenzy. Mr. Fairplay and Mr. First? My lord? You will take the stand again and make another formal testimony in reference to the indictment brought by the defense. Yes, my lord. I didn't come here for this. Warum bist du dann wieder hergekommen, hä? There's no time to think this through. All I can do is pushing forward. Was? Achso, ja, okay, das kannst du wohl machen. Mit sehr fragwürdiger Grammatik. Refuting the accusation. We were the only two people up on the roof deck. Dead or alive, I can swear to that. If anything had happened where we were still sitting, don't you think one or the other of us would have noticed? In any case, neither of us know the first thing about the victim. We had no reason to kill the man. This skylight was shut the entire time, I tell you. We couldn't possibly have opened it. If you're so sure the victim fell through the skylight, where's your proof? Ja, Beweise kann ich gerade wirklich noch nicht spontan bieten, muss ich zugeben. Aber das kommt bestimmt gleich. Das kommt gleich. Irgendwann. Achso, vielleicht der Blutfleck unten auf dem Boden, der so groß ist. Na? Der gar nicht erwähnt wurde im Voraus. Without the other noticing worth with. That's right. You see? Wait a second, I tell you, diese Animation macht mich so fertig. Warum ist das eine Animation? Wer das? Warum? Although logically, of course, the argument falls down if the two of you were in collision with one another. What? Eben. Das ist natürlich ein Punkt. The two witnesses share no common dealings. Ha! Well, I don't trust coppers any more than I trust the stinking rich. Guck mal. Ne? Stimme ich zu. Stimme ich sehr zu. Something doesn't feel right here. The trial is going in our favor, really. So why do I feel so uneasy? Counsel for the defense, over to you. Your cross-examination, please. Ja, ich bin dabei. Let's go. Let's go, indeed.